Hi everyone, I just want to start by saying I would have had this out sooner, but I got sick while finalizing the script and I couldn't voice record, which set me back for a while. That aside, I got inspired pretty quickly after seeing the trailer in the mid-September Nintendo Direct, and the one after the Direct. Demon Masquerade is so cool, so I decided it was a good time to make a video on the Infernal Demons. I'll be covering all the demons we summon in the first game. I want to say that outside of the trailers we get, I haven't seen any other media because I want to stay as spoiler free as possible, but that's hard when doing these kinds of videos. I also noticed a lot of people have said some things about a certain moment in the trailer, and while I don't have the energy to argue or engage in discourse, I will say Nintendo clearly hasn't read Taboo of the Journal Echoes in Bayonetta 2. Are we good? Cool. Now,
let's rock, baby!
the Mistress of Atrocity. Madama Butterfly is Bayonetta's contracted demon. She shows up as Bayonetta's shadow and as the hands and heels in her wicked weaves. Her butterfly wings also appear as the butterfly wings Bayonetta uses for floating. Her design was consistent for the first two games and has changed for the third game. I think her new design is fantastic and I hope Madama Styx follows in this design change, but more on her later. Madama Butterfly's description reads, "A demon taking the form of a woman who left this world under unfortunate circumstances, only to be reincarnated in hell." Unlike her beautiful swallowtail butterfly-like appearance, this demon is particularly brutal, and her reputation is well known even amongst the denizens of Inferno. If a conjurer were to sign a contract and trade her soul, the demon would impart upon her enormous power and great wisdom. As her entry says, Madama Butterfly is a brutal and powerful force among Inferno, and in the second game it shows her towering stature. One would be a fool to make her an enemy. The name Madama Butterfly comes from an opera of the same name that premiered in 1904 by Italian composer Giacomo Puccini. The opera is actually based on the short story Madame Butterfly written by American lawyer and writer John Luther Long in 1898. And that short story was based on John's sister's recollections of her time in Japan, and was inspired by the 1887 novel Madame Chrysanthème, written by French author Pierre Loti. I'm going to be giving you guys a plot summary based on the play, since that's what shares her name exactly. The setting is in Nagasaki, Japan in 1904. A US naval officer named Pinkerton rents a house on a hill in Nagasaki for himself and his soon-to-be wife Butterfly. Her real name is Chocho-san, which comes from the Japanese word for butterfly, and an added san, which is a Japanese commonplace honorific that denotes respect between equals. And let me just say, her life is really just awful. First of all, she's gonna marry a strange man who doesn't really love her, and she's a 15-year-old. To enlist for the Navy, you have to be at least 17, but to be an officer, you have to be at least 19. And even if he was the minimum of 19, it's still really gross to marry an underage girl you barely even know, and won't even say her real name. Anyway, that aside, the marriage is only for convenience in his eyes, as he plans to leave her as soon as a ship comes so he can find an American woman to marry instead. Chocho-san converts to Christianity because she really loves and wants to be with an American, which causes all of her wedding guests to renounce her because her uncle, who is a bonze, an ordained male in Buddhist monasticism, orders them all to leave after finding out about her conversion. 3 years later, Chocho-san is waiting for Pinkerton since he left after their wedding. An American counsel tells her that he's coming back, and Chocho-san reveals that she has Pinkerton's son. Pinkerton eventually arrives with his new wife Kate, and she showed up basically to take Chocho-san's son away to raise him. Pinkerton realizes he's a coward for what he did when he sees the way Chocho-san decorated the house for his arrival, and refuses to face her and leaves. Kate and the American counsel from earlier tell her. She then responds with, "I'll give you my son if he faces me." So she prays to her ancestral gods, says goodbye to her son, blindfolds him, and places an American flag in his hand. She then goes behind the screen and stabs herself with her father's seppuku knife. Pinkerton rushes in, but he's too late and she dies. Really just awful. I will admit I'm getting this plot information off the synopsis on Wikipedia, so I may not understand the nuance, but there really is not enough nuance in the world to justify what happened to her, and how gross Pinkerton is, so I'm just at a loss. Anyway, all of that aside, it's pretty clear Madama Butterfly is the girl from the story grown up, which is evident by the line in her description that says, "A woman who left this world under unfortunate circumstances." Yeah, really unfortunate. The Enochian chanting Bayonetta uses to summon her is
Padi Barma!
which translates to First Elder or itself. When beating up Inspired in Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta summons Madama Butterfly's hands using
Mikma!
which means behold. A piece of trivia I'd like to mention is about swallowtail butterflies, which is what her design is based on. Swallowtail butterflies are large and colorful butterflies, and within them are birdwing butterflies, which are the largest butterflies in the world. Anyway, I'd like to share some pretty butterflies that I found that reminded me of Madama Butterfly. The Decider of Ends, Madama Styx is John's contracted demon. She appears in John's Wicked Weaves and in her shadow. Madama Styx shares the wings Madama Butterfly has despite having a moth aesthetic. I hope her design also changes like Madama Butterfly's design. Something really cool about her is the red moth insignia in the ring of her headpiece resembles a fleur-de-lis, which is associated with the heraldry of European nations, but particularly the French. This is relevant because John is very implicitly named after John the Ark, or more known as Joan of Arc. John shares Joan of Arc's disputed birthday of January 6th, 1412. Joan of Arc is known for being a strong military leader who transcended gender roles and is recognized as a savior of France, and at a very young age, as she was about 19 when she died by being burned at the stake after accusations of heresy and blasphemy. She was canonized as a saint in 1920 by Pope Benedict XV. Her description goes, "Queen of the river Styx, the boundary between humanity and Hades. The moths born from the magical power that flows through her body are charged with luring the souls of sinners into Inferno. By trading their soul to Madama Styx, one is able to obtain great power and knowledgeable counsel." In Greek mythology, Styx is the personification of hatred and the goddess of oaths. Styx also was the goddess of the river Styx. The deities of the Greek pantheon would swear all their oaths upon the river after Zeus declared it. You may know the river Styx from the story of Achilles, where his mother dipped him in the river from his heel to make him invulnerable. The river Styx in Greek mythology is the boundary between Earth and the underworld. Hades is the king of the underworld and god of the dead. Now this could be a stretch, but the way the moths are described could be a reference to Charon, the ferryman that transports newly dead souls across the river Styx to the underworld. The reason this might be a stretch is because in many sources he instead crosses the river Akron as well as the river Styx. But that's just Greek mythology. I could make a different comparison using Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, since this game series has a lot of references to it. In the story, a ferryman named Phlegius transports Dante and Virgil across the Styx, which is in the fifth circle of hell full of those with the sin of wrath. The moths that Madama Styx has adorned on her hands and heels remind me of Luna moths, or the American moon moth. Yet another association with the moon for this series if this is the inspiration. The Enochian chanting to summon Madama Styx is
Kadibarma!
just like Madama Butterfly, which again translates to First Elder or itself. When beating up Inspired in Bayonetta 1, John summons Madama Styx's hands using
Adrapan!
which means cast down. The Devourer of the Divine, Gomorrah is a giant draconic demon. Gomorrah is vicious and one of Bayonetta's most iconic summons. Gomorrah's true head is the skull crown on top of the dragon head. Gomorrah attacks with his claws, gnaws with sharp teeth, and can breathe fire. The description in-game says, a monstrous creature hailing from the demonic wood, Johnson Forest. Taking the form of a dragon, it is incredibly fierce, identifying all that moves as game and devouring its prey. Territorial, it is most likely to be found alone. The name Gomorrah comes from biblical text, where it and its sister city Sodom were seen as wicked, and then the cities and its inhabitants were punished by God by raining fire and brimstone. Pretty wild stuff. Anyway, moving on. The name Johnson Forest is original to the game, but it could reference the Wood of Suicides from the Divine Comedy. It was a dark forest of twisted trees that were the souls of people who committed suicide. It's found in the 7th circle of hell, which represents violence. The circle is divided into 3 rings. Ring 1 against neighbors, Ring 2 against self, and Ring 3 against God, art, and nature. The forest is found in Ring 2. The Enochian chanting to summon Gomorrah is for Bayonetta, which means thunders. For John, it is
Ox extra clear!
which means to vomit weeping. For Rosa, it is
Arzulg!
which is the name of an evil spirit. Malphas does not have a title as he doesn't fully appear in Bayonetta 2, and only appears as the wings when Bayonetta or John are fighting in the air. Malphas is a bird demon with a red crescent moon going through its forehead. It also has 3 tails, and it has 8 eyes, 4 on each side with one bigger than the other 3 in the center of them all. Malphas also has a necklace of skulls. The description for Malphas is an enigmatic raven black bird, shrouded in the mysteries of the sky. Ever curious, Malphas has filled itself with all the world's knowledge and mysteries. However, this same curiosity has led to a rather brutal demeanor, causing the bird to tear those it encounters to shreds with its sharp beak and razor-like talons. Malphas comes from Dutch physician and demonologist Johann Weyer's Pseudomonarchia Daemonum. Weyer is said to have been the first person to use the term mentally ill to designate women accused of practicing witchcraft. In the Grimoire, it describes Malphas as great president of hell, with 40 legions of demons under his command, and he's Satan's second in command. He appears as a raven, but can appear as a man with a hoarse voice if requested. Malphas, the original demon, not the Bayonetta demon, has been in other video game series, such as Devil May Cry or Castlevania. The Enochian chanting used to summon Malphas for Bayonetta is
Adramon!
which is the name of an evil spirit. For John, it is
Adrapan!
which means cast down. The Shatterer of the Earth, Hekatoncheir, is a demon that is so big we only see its 6 hands. All of its fingers are ram heads, and in the game they all appear to be slightly different. Hekatoncheir wears spike bracelets on its arms. Its description reads, a giant endowed with 6 fearsome arms, capable of pulverizing mountains. Those unfortunate enough to fall underfoot of the demon are subject to days-long violent earthquakes. Lacking knowledge but brimming with brutality, it is said that even the most powerful of conjurers should take heed of the danger this beast presents. Hekatoncheir's name comes from the Hekatoncheires from Greek mythology. There were 3 named Codus, Briareus, and Aegis. These monstrous giants had 50 heads and 100 arms. In fact, the name Hekatoncheires translates from Greek to 100-handed ones. They were the children of Uranus and Gaia, or the sky and the earth. The Hekatoncheires helped Zeus and the Olympians overthrow the Titans. One of the Hekatoncheires, Briareus, is mentioned twice in the Divine Comedy, which is where the concepts of Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso come from. First, he appears as a giant guarding the 9th circle of hell, which represents treachery. Later, he is an example of pride carved into the pavement of the first terrace of Purgatory. The giant in the 9th circle of hell is most likely the closest reference to our Hekatoncheir. The Enochian chanting to summon Hekatoncheir for Bayonetta is
Apachana! Napta!
which means sword of dust. For John, it is
Znerza!
which means swear, and for Rosa, it is
Yawatio!
which means evil spirits of earth of air. The Eradicator of Paradise, Scolopendra, is a giant centipede demon that slithers through the sky. This is one of my favorite Infernal Demons next to the Madamas and Phantasmaraneae, because something insect-based or something with an insect motif, I just find that fascinating. Its description goes, a vile centipede hailing from Fregentanta, a river of boiling blood in the depths of Inferno. Rumors speak of its body exceeding 10 kilometers in length. Moving unlike anything its size, its deftness allows it to wrap around and constrict its prey in the blink of an eye. Scolopendra is the name of a genus of large tropical centipedes. All species within them deliver a painful venomous bite from modified legs on their first body segment. The largest of them can exceed a foot long or exceed 30 centimeters. 2 Southeast Asian species are amphibious, so you would not be safe in water. Scolopendra resembles the Chinese red-headed centipede, or Scolopendra subspinipes. These centipedes are symbols of darkness and evil in Japanese folklore. Omukare are centipede-like yokai based on the Chinese red-headed centipede. These yokai are enormous, have near impenetrable armor, and have been known to torture dragons. Its one weakness is human saliva, funnily enough. Phlegethonta is an original name to my knowledge, but it is most likely based on Phlegethon. Phlegethon is a river of blood that boils souls in Dante's Divine Comedy. It is found in the 7th circle of hell, specifically in Ring 1, which punishes those who are violent towards mankind, like murderers or tyrants. In Greek mythology, Phlegethon is one of the 5 infernal rivers, the other 4 being Styx, Cocytus, Lethe, and Acheron. Bayonetta uses the Enochian chant,
Tilak Fovim!
which means the Fallen One, to summon Scolopendra, and John uses
Ox Extra Clear!
which is the same as her chant for Gomorrah, which means to vomit weeping. The Twister of Flame, Phantasmaraneae, is a large spider demon with a really long name and an affinity for lava and fire. When summoning it, its offspring can also be summoned as a means to attack as well. The description for it is, Phantasmaraneae nests upon a sea of magma deep within the furthest reaches of Inferno. Rarely seen upon the face of the earth, even sightings of the demon in hell are a seldom event, leading to its name, which means phantom spider. While having the frightening appearance of a spider, it is a curious beast, and should one have the good fortune to encounter the Phantasmaraneae, one should treat it with care and respect, in hope of receiving rare treasures and secrets in return. The Phantasmaraneae are growing increasingly violent, perhaps due to recent occurrences of unnatural phenomena in the human world. Sightings of the creature outside their molten layers may be related to this change in behavior. Anyone who encounters one is advised to take caution. Phantasmaraneae can spit magma from their stomachs, capable of incinerating victims within seconds. Just to get the elephant out of the room, it's pretty clear this game heavily references the Devil May Cry series, because the first Devil May Cry was directed by Bayonetta 1's director Hideki Kamiya, and for our case today, some of the Infernal Demons I've mentioned here reference bosses Dante fights. For example, Malphas references Griffin, Scolopendra references Gigapede, and Phantasmaraneae references Phantom. I can't find the source, but I remember reading at some point that Phantom is an offspring of Phantasmaraneae, but I didn't find it, so. The description basically tells you what Phantasmaraneae's name is, which is Phantom Spider. The word phantasm is an illusion or apparition. RNA is an order of air-breathing arthropods that have 8 legs. In other words, spiders. It is the largest order of arachnids and is 7th in total species diversity within all orders of organisms. A possible reference to Phantasmaraneae is the yokai Jorogumo. A Jorogumo is a spider that transforms into a beautiful woman. It has been depicted as a spider woman that manipulates small fire-breathing spiders, which is where I feel the reference to Phantasmaraneae is. These spiders and the yokai are based on a real spider known as the Joro spider. To summon Phantasmaraneae, Bayonetta uses the Enochian chant,
Assasam! Yadaf!
which means abiding in the depths of my jaws. John's summon
Ninayo! Ox Extra Clear!
means by my power vomit and weep. The Queen of Inferno. Queen Sheba is an immensely powerful being that, with the combined power of Bayonetta and John, was able to overpower Jubileus thanks to this handy tweet by Kamiya showing the math. I could have sworn I read somewhere that at minimum 2 witches need to summon her together, but I can't find that source. Maybe it's just implied. Her description reads, when the cosmos was split into light, darkness, and the chaos in between, the incredibly powerful Sheba was born alongside the darkness, controlling the world of Inferno. She lives in the hellish land and is often classified as a demon. However, the full details of her existence are unknown. The Queen of Sheba is a figure mentioned in the Hebrew Bible, where she brings a caravan of valuable gifts for Israelite King Solomon. Her existence is disputed among historians, but she has been identified with the South Arabian kingdom of Saba in present-day Yemen and Ethiopia. Bayonetta and John summon Queen Sheba together with the chants, and
Ninayo! Adrapa! Adna! Znurza! Ox extra clear!
which mean, fallen evil spirit, curse me with thunders, and by my power I cast you down, swear your obedience, and vomit weeping. I want to say quick that I briefly mentioned Queen Sheba in my last video regarding her voice actress, which is Helena Taylor, and that she, Bayonetta, and Jubileus are the most powerful beings in their respective realities. I just didn't want to repeat myself in case you guys already saw it, but I want to repeat it here in case some of you didn't see it. Now these aren't traditionally summoned with chants. Instead, the little devils are summoned when a witch snaps her fingers while having enough magic energy and wearing the Infernal Communicator. These guys go ahead and attack with you automatically to keep the combo score going. They can also cause enemies to stagger. I also cannot mention these little guys without mentioning the king of the little devils, Zero. Zero looks super out of place when playing as him and lore-wise, but Kamiya already said why he and the little devils are here. I also think Kamiya said it best when describing this guy because I can't find any meaningful connection to what he could be. The closest thing I can find is what the wiki suggests, and that's death, but I feel like that's a stretch. Something I can say is the name Little Devils may be a reference to Team Little Devils, which is what Hideki Kamiya and his creative team dubbed themselves for the first Devil May Cry game released in 2001. A cool detail is that the development team for Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2 are called Team Little Angels. Anyway, something I want to mention is about Zero's design. Do you notice the marking on Zero's forehead? It's not just a random symbol, it is actually the number 0 in this demonic alphabet chart found in the concept art of the game. Another cool detail is that the little devils also have numbers on their heads, and they appear to be 1 to 5. I think that's really neat. According to the wiki, Zero's model is in the files of Bayonetta 2, and possibly might have been the third character again before being replaced by Rosa. And they have an image of him along with this tweet I found by Kamiya suggesting Zero would be in Bayonetta 2. But I tried looking at Bayonetta 2's cutting room floor page, specifically the unused models subpage, and I didn't see him. I did however see Malphas and some other cool stuff, including what appears to be a scrapped weapon that seems to be a pair of Gatling guns that apparently acted like nunchucks since they use Cyfung's animations. I highly recommend you check out the Cutting Room Floor, a website that describes itself as dedicated to unearthing and researching unused and cut content from video games. As always, I'd like to thank you all for watching, as it's always appreciated. I will say now that I'm already working on another video that I want to have out by the release date of Bayonetta 3. I want to also say that I was going to include all the demons in Bayonetta 2 in this video, but when I got sick it grew too daunting and I wanted to finish this other video I had planned. So thank you all so much for understanding, and I'll see you again later. Thanks for watching.